day, we were all there, and he was laying back there in that bedroom. And when he passed, he was laying there going, and he raised right up in the bed, like sat straight up. That's where he went, just like that. That was his last breath. One that's got all the generations in it is that one right there.
Oh, okay. Oh, jeez.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. His dad, Kenny,
Yeah.
Bethel, Mom, me, and Steve.
Boy, I see Kenny, he still looks like that today. Grandpa's smiling, holy cow.
What do you think? Yeah, a little bit of fishing going on. That's Jerry, look at that. And that's where he got his braces for
off.
his teeth. Yeah. And then there's Uncle Jim.
Yeah, and Aunt Olive.
He always stood around like that.
I could get Grandpa started just by saying, hey, you once told me about this guy who swallowed that salamander while he was drinking water out of that pond or whatever, and that would just get him going. I mean, and he would sit there and talk. Finally, you'd have to kind of cut him off to end it an hour and a half later, because he would just story after story after story. And when he would tell them, it was like, you were there with him. I mean, he remembered
Exactly.
such details about him.
I remember Mama say, I'd go in and I'd say, Pop, what about the story you told me about so-and-so? And she'd say, oh, son, please don't get him started again. Yeah, he was quite the storyteller. And probably that's one of the most outstanding things I remember about him, and how he could communicate those stories. It just attracted you so that you paid attention to him.
Yeah.
He had a tendency to pick on you a little bit, especially those that he really cared about. And of course, I didn't pick that virtue up at all.
Oh, no, not at all. I laugh because not only did you pass that on to me, but I'm now watching my two boys do the exact same thing. And then I just go, even to Lynette, I'll go, it's not my fault, it's Dad's fault. You know who I got it from. I remember stories growing up that he would pick at Granny so much so that she would get so mad he'd chase him around the house with a butcher knife, and he'd just keep egging it on.
Well, I hate to admit it, but those stories are true.
Can you think of any of the things that he was really good at when you say that?
Fishing. Yeah, and that was.
Well, he didn't pass that on to you, but I got it from him, didn't I?
No, don't tell me. I'm a pretty good fisherman. But yes, he loved to fish. My goodness, he put 31 years in at the same factory, and I'll bet you could count on one hand the days that he wasn't able to go to work. He was determined, very strong-willed, and a hard worker. He kept that routine up all the time, and boy, that made an impression on me to stay with it. Probably one of the things that made the biggest impression on me was when he needed downtime. He would always get his Bible, and he was very dedicated in reading that. He liked to go off in his room or off by himself, and he did that almost every evening.
You once told a story, and I don't remember who it was. I don't know if it was a great-grandfather or an uncle, but about somebody who could be heard praying from the barn. Who was that?
That was my dad's grandpa.
Oh, wow.
George Houston Godby. And 4 o'clock in the morning, Dad said it was not unusual to wake up because he raised my dad. And it was not unusual to hear someone praying, and he would always go over to the barn. And they said he prayed so loud you could hear him all the way to the house. I think, although I've never heard my dad say the word love, he did love people. And he showed that by his actions and his conversations and that type thing. He was more of a doer than just saying things. And yes, that made an impression on me. And I love people. He loved people. And he passed that down. There's no doubt in my mind. And yes, he was good at conversation. Yes.
Lynette will often say to me, I don't know how you can start up a conversation with anybody or go through a checkout line and I'll, talk to the person behind the counter or pick at them or say something funny. But I always remember Grandpa was that way. It was almost like he'd never met a stranger. And I watched you over the years the same way. I mean, you're not afraid to say anything to anybody or, as far as start up a conversation with them or pick at them or whatever. But that's one of the things I really remember.
You're probably one of the best talkers, and I think that comes from my dad. And then the way you can drift into the lighter side of things impresses me. And you're able to do that really well.
One of the things I think of as it relates to you has been your commitment to people, to family. Your previous wife and her battling cancer, and I had the privilege to do her funeral, and just remember saying to you and meant it that you left an example for me and Jerry to follow as far as what it means to be married, what it means to be committed, and to take care of somebody during really the worst time of their life. And I'll never forget that commitment and watching you go through that and sticking to it, and what you did for her to make her life as pleasant as it could be in her final days.
Well, thank you.
So, well, thank you for leaving that legacy for us. I remember saying at one time, being so mad at you as a teenager and thinking, I'm never going to be like my dad. And the harder I tried not to be like you, the more and more I became just like you. And so I'm glad we grew through those years and we enjoy the relationship that we have now. But, being like you isn't too bad, and learning some of those things and passing those on to my boys. It's kind of fun to watch them do things and say things now that I said that they used to make fun of, and even to hear them poke and make fun of Pawpaw, as they like to call you. And so we pass on things intentionally, and then there's a lot of things that get passed on unintentionally. Without a doubt.